we've got the one, the only, the LG 27GR95QE. It's a Ultra Gear OLED 240 Hertz. What else can you ask for? It's a 27-inch screen, 1440p, and it's fast. So we've seen this panel from a lot of other manufacturers. LG Display makes them all though, and then LG Electronics, their sister company, will take the same panel and make it for themselves. So let's open this box and see what we got. We got a stand. It's got, you know, basically my favorite design, although I wouldn't mind if they had a bit more column here to make it more sturdy, but it's just your standard, you know, connect them and screw it in kind of guy. We got the rest of our stand here. Oh, one thing we can see here, it's got a little NVIDIA G-Sync badge. This guy should be G-Sync capable and FreeSync capable, but not FreeSync Premium Pro or G-Sync Ultimate, which is fine, honestly. Variable refresh rate and adaptive sync technology has gotten really good, and it works on basically every monitor now. Well, any high-end gaming monitor. Seems sturdy enough. Oh, this is a pretty heavy box. Tons of cables. Ultra certified cable, HDMI ultra high speed, oh baby. This should be HDMI 2.1. It's a 1440p, 240 hertz display, so you're gonna want a really good cable to reach those specs. We got our USB-B cable. We got our cable protector here, cable cover, very nice. Keep your cables covered on the back. I would prefer something that's fully integrated into the stand rather than having a cable cover on the back like this, but this is perfectly fine. It's still good enough. And the reality is, you don't even need to use the cable management stuff. It just looks pretty once you're done. It comes with a remote. You may have watched it already, you may not have. We did a 45-inch of basically a similar panel, and it also came with a remote, and I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think personally that I'll ever use the remote, but it's cool. You know, it's good to have. We've got our handy dandy power brick and our handy dandy, probably Korean power plug. Luckily, we got a travel adapter, so I don't even have to go get a C13. We're good to go. Actually, it's a C8, I think, the Mickey Mouse plug. I can never remember. And a DisplayPort cable, if you don't want to use HDMI. There could be a lot of reasons for that. Maybe your graphics card doesn't support HDMI 2.1. Actually, that's like the only reason I can think of. But yeah, you got a DisplayPort if you want to use that. Display quality assurance report. Okay, so they're telling us that we're gonna have a max value of a delta E of less than 5. For the max values, that's pretty good, because that's not just the average. If all of them are lower than 5, then there's a good chance that, especially with the OLED black level coming in at like basically 0 error, there's a good chance that that's like averaging out at less than 2. It tells you all the gamma value and the color temperature and stuff that it was tested at, which is fine. One thing that's interesting is that this guy was tested at 8500 Kelvin. I think the other one was 6500 Kelvin. Either way, we're just gonna put that in there, put this all back in the box, and forget about it, because I don't want to see these documents. One minor thing, I don't like styrofoam. I really wish they would switch to like some kind of foam system that isn't made of styro. Okay, I love these packaging materials. The only problem is when it's like this and there's no seam or split, or when it's on the side especially and not on the bottom, because on the bottom you can just like lift it up and get that in there, no problem. But as you can see, I'm gonna have to I don't like splitting it open like this, because I want to reuse this foam if I ever have to pack it up again. Like, we can manage here, but you know, I had to rip this part open and move it around. It's just a lot easier when the seam is on the bottom, so you can just go up and insert it like that. But you know, no harm, no foul. Look at that. I like how light it is already. As much as I love giant monitors, they're heavy. And they can be a major pain to both move around and cable manage and do all that stuff. Like, whenever you've got to move it for any reason, it's just kind of a nightmare. Versus this, you know, this was easy. Because we've got an OLED and because the power brick isn't integrated, come on, peel. I have to get it out of there. Because of that, this thing is super thin, and it honestly looks really pretty, even just from the side and the back. And I'm digging the design here. They've got this kind of hexagonal shape that I don't understand why everyone's doing the Cooler Master hexagon. You guys have got to like find something else. Make this flat. I'd be fine with like a flat, squared off back, whatever, not a big deal. This should all be RGB along the sides here. And then we've got the LG or Ultra Gear logo here. I'm not sure which. Looks like an L and a U. Maybe that's on purpose? I don't know. On the back, we've got a decent amount of I/O. We have a couple of HDMI 2.1 ports, DisplayPort 1.4, optical out, and then USB-B to A on the other side, and a couple of USB-A ports right before we get to our DC in for our power plug. We've also got a Kensington lock and a headphone jack on the bottom here. And then we finally got our power button way on the bottom here in the middle. There's no navigation nipple because you've got the cool remote. We'll get to that later. For now, what I want to mention is I actually really like the way LG does a lot of their I/O. I use a couple LG monitors at my desk, and it's really handy having the plugs just go straight out the back like this, instead of trying to like get them up into some weird area and then covering it with a cable cover. This is just easy. You're not gonna have to think too hard when you're trying to set everything up, and you're not gonna have to like struggle with a DisplayPort cable or something like that. So it's a really minor thing, but it's something I like. Now, the stand. Let's check it out, let's check it out. What can this bad boy do? What can this 27-inch sweet 240 hertz OLED do? First up, can't pivot that way, but hey, I don't know why you would ever want to pivot an OLED monitor, especially one that's 240 hertz, and then run it in portrait mode. But you know what? If you're just that baller that your side displays are this $1,000 240 hertz display, go for it. What else has it got? It's got height adjustment, pretty good amount too, it's not bad. Swivel, not a ton of swivel. I would actually like a bit more swivel, but this is fine. And then tilt, good amount of tilt, that's not bad. There's two main advantages to going with a smaller 27-inch screen like this. Now, the first one is that it's not gonna jiggle as much when you're gaming, because there's not as much weight on the display itself. Like, yeah, obviously you shake the desk, the monitor is gonna shake too, but it's not like to the point where you feel like you need it to be on a monitor arm, because it's constantly destabilizing whenever you do something as simple as move your mouse. The other main advantage is that while this is 27 inches, it's also 1440p. So you're getting something like 108 ppi, which is well above the 100 that's kind of the minimum for a lot of people. To confirm that it looks good, we're gonna turn it on in a sec, but not before a word from our sponsor, Secret Lab. Secret Lab chairs are designed to keep you comfortable for those long nights of work and play. Their Titan Evo 2022 series chair offers 4-way lumbar support, comes with a magnetic memory foam head pillow, and is offered in different upholsteries like hybrid leatherette, soft weave fabric, and Napa leather. Best of all, a 5-year extended warranty is included, along with a 49-day return policy, so you're covered if anything goes wrong. Head to the link in the description below and check out Secret Lab today. Here, you know what I'm gonna do first? I'm gonna plug some stuff in before I take it over there. Pro tip, for anyone who is setting up a monitor, plug in your stuff ahead of time, ideally, and then you just like run it down the back of your desk. It's no problem, it's easy. One kind of minor complaint is that while I love the RGB on the sides here, it doesn't go all the way across the top as well, or on the bottom. It's really not a big deal, but it's something that I would like to see in future revisions. Just have it go all the way across the top, you know, come full circle, minor thing, but hey, you're paying a lot of money. One thing that instantly stands out to me, not necessarily in the best way, but not in a terrible way either, is this kind of chin here on the bottom. That's housing the power button that is lit up, by the way, the power button is lit. And then you've got this other sensor here, and that's gotta be for the remote. I don't know if they could have done it better, because the sensor does take some space. They maybe could have put like a tiny little module on the side, and I would have preferred that, I think. But either way, it's not a big deal. It's not all that distracting. I just kind of happened to notice it. Minor correction, it's not actually the power button itself that's lit up. There's a tiny light just behind it. So, okay, they could have just made the power button glow, but that's fine. We're gonna try the OSD with the handy dandy remote. So I guess my only issue is there's like no other buttons anywhere that I can see or feel. So if this power button just turns it on and off, oh man, you can use this, but it's one of those like single button press and hold to make a selection, and then every press just goes along the bar. It is usable, but these suck. I hate them. LG, I really wish you would have just kept a navigation nipple. While the remote is a super nice inclusion, and I am a big fan of it actually, you don't always want to use a remote. You know, you don't want to go looking for it. Like, I'm not going to keep this on my desk somewhere. I'm probably just going to stash it away and never touch it. But you know, to each their own. As for the OSD, it's not bad. We've got, you know, your typical like game adjustment mode. So whether you want gamer or like gamer 2 FPS, these are just changing like how cool or how bright it is. Variable refresh rate features. It does do FreeSync Premium as well as it's G-Sync compatible. So that's great. Black stabilization, sure, crosshair. You can turn it on if you want, same with the FPS counter. I personally never do. And then we've got just your typical brightness, contrast, sharpness, gamma, color temp. Oh, actually being able to change the gamma is kind of nice. It's becoming much more common, both in high-end monitors and lower-end monitors, but it's always nice to see it as an option there. And then it looks like there's RGB as well that you can change. So you can change the individual colors manually yourself. It's grayed out. I don't know how to enable it. You might have to be in a specific mode, but that's okay. We're just gonna stick with Gamer 1. This is actually really neat. I don't think I've seen this in basically any other monitor. It's probably there and I just haven't noticed it before, but this has got a total power on time measured in hours. That's really cool. actually. So what you can do, especially because it's an OLED, and so you actually care about burn-in and image retention and all that, say if someone's selling one of these 3 years down the line, you're not gonna know how bright they were running it or whatever, but you can at least know how long it's been powered on for, which is kind of handy. You don't see that a lot in a lot of electronics. Like, wouldn't it be great if your GPU just had a little clock cycle on it and it could be like, yeah, this GPU has been active for like 2 years. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, it's actually really handy. I like that, LG. I like that a lot. Okay, so there's the OSD for you. It looks like it's already running at 240 Hertz, but HDR is turned off. We want to turn that on because this is an OLED display, so every pixel is a dimming zone, and I think this is rated at 1,000 nits. So you're only going to get that in little, like 1% to 3% little peak brightness kind of glints on the screen, but it's still really nice. And if it can peak at 1,000, then it can probably do something anywhere from about 400 to 600 all white full screen, 10-bit color, 2560 by 1440p, 240 Hertz. We're gonna check out the HDR and the color quality. It can do a whopping 98.5% of DCI-P3, and you saw that it came calibrated from the factory. The classic Kyoto cherry blossom that you've seen us look at 100 times before if you've been following the channel. It looks good. Just like, look at the blues, like the color diversity here. I mean, I know that you're seeing a lot of like white and blue and pink in all of these cherry blossoms and stuff, but then when you stop and you look at the contrasting colors, like all of this green and the blue on that guy's jacket and stuff, it's just crazy how good displays look these days compared to stuff 5, 10, 20 years ago. Like, I grew up on garbage, well, I shouldn't say garbage, but I grew up on like comparatively spec-wise terrible CRT TVs. And I was always pining for and waiting for that like really big jump in technology. I was never a big LCD fan when they came out. I could feel that input lag right away and it felt terrible. So I am just so on board with OLED. I've been waiting like 20 years for this stuff to become mainstream. And I think we're finally kind of there. Wow, it's absolutely stunning. Even with LG's white OLED, it still just looks super good. The contrast is insane. I like that they're now going with a 1.5 million to 1 contrast ratio instead of, some people when it comes to OLED, they'll try to say it's an infinite contrast ratio, and that's just terrible marketing. I don't like that. But they're sticking to 1.5 million to 1, and that seems pretty reasonable. You're getting over 1 billion colors with 10-bit color, and it really does look incredible. Even this red on the umbrella or parasol or whatever. God, the lights on the uniforms and that sign, those blues, they just pop and look great. But you know what? It's 240 Hertz. It's OLED. We got a game on it. It looks gorgeous. I'm pretty terrible at playing Spider-Man with the mouse and keyboard. I only just figured out how to web swing, but you know what? That's fine. This looks so pretty. And I mean, we're only getting like 130, 140 FPS. So with this game in particular, with like ray tracing turned on and all that, we're not even taking advantage of what this display can really do, which is 240 Hertz. We'll play CSGO briefly. I just wanted to look at something that's a bit more vibrant and colorful and interesting. And God, it really just does look gorgeous. You're floating around at super high speeds because you're Spider-Man, and just nothing looks blurry. Like, it all looks crisp. No matter what you're doing, it just looks clear as day. I love how fast the pixel response time of OLED is. It's just like so wild. It's 0.03 milliseconds. Oh, okay, let's check out CSGO. I gotta try a fast-paced game. I don't know how to explain it. Like, the difference from 60 to 120 is massive, and the difference from 120 to 240 is not nearly as massive. Absolutely not. But you know what? I think I'm finally starting to like really notice that difference now that I've used a lot more like 240 Hertz displays. It's not something that you need. However, it is definitely a nice to have. And especially with OLED just having such crazy pixel response times, you might as well take even more advantage of it by giving it a really high refresh rate as well. See, I just killed 3 bots. Are they bots? Yes. But did I kill them? Also yes. The only real problem with this monitor, because otherwise it's fantastic and I would love to own this thing. I would, you know, I already have a different display, but like, it's hard to go wrong with 240 Hertz OLED, but it is a little pricey. It's 27 inches, 1440p in 2023, and you're gonna be paying $1,000. That being said, just a year or two ago, to get this exact same display, maybe not 240 hertz because it wasn't even out yet then, but like let's say OLED 165, 27 inches, you'd be paying a very similar price, if not more. So the fact that you can get a 1440p screen at 27 inches, which is basically like the universal sweet spot for 1440p, now that you can get it for like $1,000, it honestly might be worth upgrading to a lot of people. Especially if you're watching more and more HDR content and you don't already have like a really good movie or game screen that you can use for HDR. If you can afford it, I think it's worth the upgrade. And yeah, LG has really they've outdone themselves. They've crushed it. They've knocked it out of the park. There are going to be other options, you know, if you don't want LG specifically. Acer's got their own version of this panel. Asus has got their own version of this panel. So if you prefer those brands, you can go with them if you want to. But I'll be honest, I actually love the back I/O for the LG versions, and I also really like their stand. It's pretty versatile, it's really minimal, it's pretty sleek. I'm happy with this thing overall. The chin, you know what? I completely forgot about it after I started like using the monitor and talking to you guys again, so whatever. I complained about it before, I don't even care anymore. Strike it, editor, cut that from the record. We don't need that. This is the LG 27GR95QE. Yeah, that took a little while, but I got there. And we had a little too much fun unboxing it, to be honest. I can't even stop playing Counter-Strike on it, it's just so clean. Thanks for watching, guys. This is ShortCircuit. This is the 27GR95QE from LG. It's a fantastic OLED display. If you want to look at another OLED display, maybe check out the 45GR95QE.